Dunham. I'm a senior at Garden Valley High School this year. I really enjoy cooking and plan to attend the Cordon Bleu Western Culinary Academy in Oregon for culinary management next fall. A few hobbies of mine include fishing, horseback riding, snowmobiling, and camping in the summer. Today I'm going to talk to you about my favorite journalist from the past, Elizabeth Cochran, also known as Nelly Bly. Have you ever asked insane to enter yourself in an insane asylum? Industrialization led to overpopulated cities and poultry of green healthy. Streets were filled with trash, plumbing was overflowing, and houses were filled with people to their maximum, which caused disease and fear. Elizabeth was dedicated and strong-willed, believing she could change anything despite the fact that she was insane. She risked her life pretending to be insane to change the way insane asylums, living conditions were, and how patients were treated. Elizabeth, full of fire, changed this by writing newspaper articles and by changing the rough world through her passionate writing about social problems and wars. Elizabeth Cochran, also known as Nelly Bly, was born May 5, 1864. She grew up watching industrialization change the world. In the 1860s, the United States changed from a pre-industrial society to an industrial one. A small town with manufacturers would increase population dramatically. Manufacturers were being put up around the U.S., increasing the need for workers, causing large amounts of people to migrate to the cities. Elizabeth's father owned an iron mill in Armstrong, Pennsylvania, called the Cochran's Mills. In 1969, the Cochran's Mill had grown from a few farms into a community with a school, churches, a miller, a minister, and a dentist, a doctor, and a salt factory. This shows how large a small area can grow due to a manufacturing progress city. Elizabeth, although named to Elizabeth Cochran, added an E for extra simplification. Cochran was also trying to show people that she wasn't less of a person for being alone. Paula Beyer said she was always trying to grow activities and her brother separated herself from them. Elizabeth Cochran was a journalist with a dream of becoming a daring writer. Bly started her career writing for a newspaper at $5 per week. At a young age, she was well known for her journalistic style and working at the Will newspaper. She achieved her goal of going undercover to study and expose a certain place. Cochran later used a pseudonym by changing her name in 1885 to Nelly Bly after a son Stephen called Bob.
They need to know that we're in the room as well.
Because she needed a more suitable name, and not to be known as the portable orphan girl, a story she learned earlier. Also, a woman journalist should have a pen name so the public didn't know who the writer was for protection. Bly was an inventive journalist and discovering a better view by undercover stories. Paper Faith said, Nelly gained fame for sensational exposes that often involved dangerous undercover work to obtain inside information. She posed as a sweatshop worker to expose how cruel and horrible the sweatshop workers were treated. Nelly Bly said herself that the factory was unsafe and the woman had to work long and difficult shifts. During the 1800s, women journalists were put on small assignments. Women were unequal to men. Now, Nelly Bly was flustered with this because she wanted to do more. She was too impatient to work along the usual duties assigned to women in newspapers. Bly decided to dig deeper into her stories and bring a first-hand inside look to the readers. Due to her devotion, Bly helped women to be able to have a stable journalism profession. New York City was a place of thriving new for women journalists. Nelly was determined to do anything she could to do to be greater. She moved to New York to fulfill her dream of working at the New York World newspaper, where she was told, "You write like a man," by Fanny B., which was the highest compliment a woman reporter could receive. It took her only 4 months, then she was hired on the spot at New York newspaper by Joseph Pulitzer. The increase of population in small towns from industrialization caused chaos. The towns were not equipped well enough for hundreds of people. Houses were filled up to the extent of people sleeping on floors or outside the dirt. Plumbing was backed up and overflowing because so many people were using the facilities. Citizens would go hungry because food supplies were only able to stabilize a small community. Disease spread rapidly and people became homeless or even crazed. Insane asylums were overpopulated during the industrialization period, causing people to be checked in for false reasons. Nelly Bly stated, "A man admitted his wife into an institution for being unfaithful to her. The asylums were serving spoiled food, patients were lightly clothed with the freezing cold, and bath water was so cold that inmates were poured over their heads. Institutions were overpopulated as employees became cruel and tired of everyone. Staff physically and mentally abused the patients. After Bly was hired at the World, she was given a chance to pick her treated, leading to much needed reform. Bly worked day after day in front of her mirror pretending to be insane. After all her practice, she proved to the city police and the institution that she was insane. They kept her in the same asylum where she would stay until she was well. Bly risked her own life to uncover the real truth of Blackwell's life. While at Blackwell, she discovered many horrible, disgusting things. One being that the patients were fed vermin-infested food, stale bread, and rotten meat. Kroger said many of the people were not actually psychologically disturbed, but physically ill. Nelly would report back to the world about her discoveries. Matthew Berkeley said. She told in detail of Gucci vicious nurses who choked, beat, and harassed their deluded patients, of fire hazards, of having to share towels and greasy patients. After 10 days, her boss from the wilderness group convinced the institution that she was indeed just doing a story and needed to be let go. Exposing insane asylums weren't the only places Nelly Bly was undercover for. She also exposed other places such as prisons. Bly purposely got arrested to get an inside look at the experience of some of the most downtrodden of the urban America, followed by her set. Bly also experienced Bly also uncovered a health clinic for uncertified doctors' experience on patients. Another great adventure Bly took was to beat the record time of traveling the world. Originally, the record time was 80 days exactly. Bly, with her dedication to heart, beat that just as she said she would. Bly finished her travel in 72 days, beating the world record by almost 10 days, showing how Bly was so determined to show the world how great she was. In her travels around the world, she would write about the poverty in different countries. People from all over that world followed her stories like a soap opera. Every time a new story would come out, streets would be filled to see what her next exposed was. Nelly opened people up by how talented a writer she was. Although Nelly Bly was a woman, she touched the world in many different ways. When Bly wrote her story about Blackwell's Island, she opened up the truth about its cruelty. Allah said. She exposed corruption in the public and private sectors, which had the public praying for social reform. Many people had no idea what the conditions were like there or didn't even want to believe it. The facts that Bly put out were true, thus making everyone understand the real truth. Her reports of cruelty stirred the public and politicians, bringing many needed reforms to the institutions. Bly's sitting for checking herself into the same asylums, prisons, hospitals, workhouses, and asylums. 2 weeks after Bly's report appeared, the grand jury ordered investigations to change the way the institutions were ran. Bly stated after the report appeared, I had one consolation for my work on the strength of my story. The Committee of Appropriation provided $1 million more than was ever before given for the benefit of the insane. Overall, Nelly Bly's work didn't stop when she died. Her request for the change of insane asylums increased the department's budget from $1.5 million in 1887 to more than $2.64 million in 1888. New York Times wrote about Nelly saying, a fighting woman has a fight to make. There's something that nothing can stand in the way of carrying it out to the last extremity.